Deixis is the use of words which is relative to the speaker, the time, and the place. A deictic word is one which takes some element of its meanings from the situation. For example, the speaker, the time, the addressee, and the place of the utterance in which it is used. For example, the first person singular pronoun I is deictic. When Ben Hisley says, I've lost the contract, the word I here refers to Ben Hisley. Deixis and anaphora are two linguistic phenomena that involve the use of expressions to refer to entities in the context. Deixis is the use of expressions that rely on the spatio-temporal and social surroundings of the speaker and the hearer to identify their reference. Meanwhile, anaphora is the use of expressions that rely on the previous or following discourse to identify their reference. Deixis depends on context, meanwhile anaphora depends on text. Sometimes they overlap. I'll give you guys example of deixis. I went to the mall yesterday and bought this shirt. The meaning of I and this depends on who is speaking and what shirt they are showing. John loves his dog. He takes it for a walk every day. The meaning of he and it depends on the previous sentence, where John and his dogs are mentioned. Okay, I think that's all from me. Let's continue to the next speaker.
Personal deixis refers to the linguistic phenomenon where the meaning of certain words, such as pronouns, depends on the participant in a conversation. These words are context dependent and vary based on the identity of the speaker, listener, or others involved. For example, the English pronouns I, you, he, and she are forms of personal deixis. In different language, personal deixis is expressed through various pronouns, verb forms, or even distinct words that convey the relationship between participants. Each language has its unique way of encoding this relational aspect within its grammar and vocabulary. Studying personal deixis provides insight into how language structure social relationship and convey information about participants in a conversation.
Hello everyone, my name is Abacus Villanova with the student number of 011, and in this occasion I'll be explaining to you about spatial deixis. So, spatial deixis refers to the way language is used to encode and convey information about the location of entities in space. It involves the use of words and expressions that rely on the spatial relationships between the speaker, the listener, and other elements in the discourse. Spatial deixis is influenced by the speaker's perspective and the context in which the communication takes place. There are six key aspects of spatial deixis and how they are influenced, which are: number one, we have demonstrative. So, demonstrative words like this, that, these, and those are common in spatial deixis. They help establish a spatial relationship between entities. The choice of demonstrative depends on the speaker's perspective. So, for example, this book indicates something closer to the speaker, while that book refers to something farther away. Secondly, we have personal pronouns. So, personal pronouns such as here, there, above, below, near, and far are used to express spatial relationship. The speaker's perspective play a crucial role in determining the meaning of these terms. Here, here, for the speakers, refers to the location where they are situated, while there refers to a location away from the speaker. Thirdly, we have spatial frames of reference. Different language and cultures may use different spatial frames of reference. There are primarily three types of spatial frames of reference, which are 1. Egocentric, 2. Allocentric, and 3. Geocentric. Egocentric frames of reference are based on the speaker's perspective. Allocentric frames consider the position of entities relative to each other, and Geocentric frames are use fixed directions like the cardinal winds, so north, south, east, and west, and such as those. Number four, we have contextual influence. So the context of a conversation strongly influence spatial deixis. The same spatial term can have different meaning based on the context. So, for instance, the phrase over here might refer to a location close to the speaker in one context, but could mean in a different location in another context. Number five, we have cultural variation. So, cultural factors also play a role in spatial deixis. Different culture may have different conventions for expressing spatial relationships. For example, in some culture, people might use cardinal directions such as north, south, east, west more frequently in everyday communication, while others may rely on landmarks or personal relationships. And lastly, we have number six, which is dynamic nature. So, spatial deixis is a dynamic and can change over the course of a conversation as the speaker and listener move or as the topic of conversation changes, the spatial reference may shift accordingly. In summary, spatial deixis is a linguistic phenomenon where language is used to convey information about the spatial relationship between entities, the speaker's perspective, as well as contextual and cultural factors, all contribute to the interpretation of special expressions in language. That's all from me. Thank you.
One, my name is Linda Sari. My last student number is 010. So, I will continue the explanation about temporal deixis. Temporal deixis refers to the use of language to refer to the time in which an event takes place. It involves the use of temporal expressions such as now, then, yesterday, tomorrow, last week, next month, and so on. The temporal deixis is important in understanding the meaning of a sentence, as it allows the listener or reader to determine when the event being referred to occur or will occur. For example, I wish you'd been here yesterday, and yesterday is temporal deixis. And how? They are related to time and aspect. Temporal deixis refers to the way language encodes and expresses the temporal relation between events. Tense and aspect are closely related to temporal deixis. Tense. It primarily deals with the time of the action or state. In English, for example, we have past, present, and future tense, which help indicate when an action or state occurs. Aspect. It deals with the internal temporal structure of an action. English has aspects like simple, progressive, and perfect. The combination of tense and aspect provides a more nuanced understanding of when and how an action or state takes place. Temporal deixis, on the other hand, involves words or expressions that point to specific moment in time, often relying on the speaker's perspective. For example, demonstrative. Now, then, today, yesterday. And adverbs of time. Soon, later, before, and after. So, together, tense, aspect, and temporal deixis help convey precise temporal information in language.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Adi Nugroho Pangestu with the number 013, and today I will explain to you social deixis. Social dexis is when we use term of address to indicate social or professional status. In many languages, there is a distinct change or form for second person pronouns to indicate familiarity or politeness. Example, Jan is talking to his friend in German, and when he said you will likely use du. When he is talking to his professor or supervisor, he will more likely address them with sie. It is formal you in German. This way of addressing people is called DV distinction and is virtually non-existent in modern English. Formality and familiarity in English are expressed in other ways, such as using form of address, terms of endearment, formal and informal language. There are several types of social dexis, and they are often classified into three main categories: person dexis, honorific, and solidarity. 1. Person dexis. First person refers to speaker. For example, in English, pronouns like I, we, us are used to indicate the speaker or a group including the speaker. Second person refer to person or people being spoken to. In English, pronoun like you are used in this purpose. Third person refers to someone or something that is not speaker or the listener. Pronouns like he, she, it, they, etc. are example in English. Honorific. Honorific are linguistic elements used to show respect or politeness. They often involve in different form of address, title, or verb conjugation. This use of honorific varies across language and cultures. Title are form of address referring to someone using titles such as Mr., Misters, and Miss, or using honorific like Sir or Madam. Polite verb forms. Some language has different verb forms to express politeness or respect when addressing someone of higher social status. Solidarity. Solidarity dexis involve expression that convey the sense of social closeness or intimacy between participants in a conversation. This expression often reflects the speaker attitude towards the listener and may include terms of endearment or informal language. Term of endearment, using an affectionate like darling, sweetheart, or other expression that denote closeness. Informal language, choosing informal or colloquial language to convey a sense of familiarity and camaraderie. Example in English. Person dexis is for person is I'm going to the store. Second person, can you pass me the salt? Third person, she is coming to the party. Honorific. Mr. Smith, may I introduce you to Mrs. Johnson? Could you please pass the document, Dr. Lee? Solidarity. Hey buddy, how's going? Thanks a million for your help, mate. Understanding social dexis is crucial for effective communication as it helps convey not only the basic meaning of the word but also social relationship and dynamics between the participant in a conversation. Keep in mind that specific expression and convention can vary significantly across language and culture. That's all for me. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Ani. My register number is 009. I would like to explain about discourse dexis. Discourse dexis refers to use of linguistic element with a conversation or text that depend on the preceding or following discourse to be fully understood. In other words, this linguistic expression point to element with the ongoing conversation or text, relying on the context by earlier or parts of the discourse. Example, consider the following dialogue. I really like it. Without the preceding context, it's not clear what it refers to. Discourse dexis becomes evident when the context is provided. Did you read the book I recommended? Yes, I really like it. In this example, it gains its meaning through discourse dexis because it refers back to the book that
was recommended in the presenting part of the conversation. Other examples of discourse dixes include pronouns this, that, des, and those, often depend on context to be clear. For instance, I met two people. These were very friendly. Demonstrative. Words like this, that, des, and those can also function as demonstrative, pointing to specific items or ideas in the immediate discourse. Temporal expression. Phrasal like later, after that, or previous mention refer to specific points in the discourse timeline. Understanding the axis is crucial for effective communication, as it helps participants in a conversation or readers of a text connects pronouns, demonstrative, and other elements to the relevant part of the ongoing discourse.